I am Nelly, Iwuoha, and today I want to open a page in my life that I once closed too tightly. A page from a season I didn't think I would survive. A season where God felt painfully silent. Where everything I trusted felt like it was collapsing in slow motion, and the people I thought would hold my hands simply looked away. There was a time in my life when I reached out to people I once carried in my heart. People I had helped, supported, listened to. People who used to say, "Nelly, you are one of the strongest people I know." But when I needed strength from them, messages were read and ignored. Calls were left unanswered, and the silence from people became louder than the silence from God. You see, there's a kind of loneliness that doesn't happen when you are alone. It happens when you are surrounded by names in your phone, but none of them can hear the sound of your breaking. There is something people don't talk about enough. How your small act of care could be the one thread holding someone together. How a simple "I am going through a lot right now, but I see you" could stop a heart from giving up. Because in that season, I wasn't asking anyone to solve my life. I just needed someone to acknowledge my pain, to say, "Nelly, I know this is hard." But instead, all I met was silence. Human silence and divine silence. And when both feel empty at the same time, you start to question everything. Your worth, your voice, your purpose, your strength. You start to wonder, God, am I invisible even to you? There is something else I learned in that season. Silence is not absence, but it feels like it. You pray and nothing moves. You cry and nothing shifts. You reach out and no one reaches back. You start to feel like a burden. You start to believe your pain is too loud, too heavy, too inconvenient. And slowly you begin to lose yourself. You stop talking, you stop fighting, you stop hoping, you just exist. For a long time I lived in that space between despair and numbness, between faith and fatigue, between wanting to pray and feeling too exhausted to try. But here is something I didn't expect. God wasn't speaking, but He was still carrying me, and I know you don't see it in the moment. I didn't either. All I saw was rejection, silence, disappointment, and a kind of loneliness that sits on your chest like weight. But somehow in the quietness of His silence, He was rearranging things I didn't know were broken. He was disconnecting me from voices that couldn't go where He was taking me. He was teaching me that people's silence is not always abandonment. Sometimes it's redirection, sometimes it's protection, and sometimes it's God Himself saying, "Let me be the one you run to first." Maybe you are in that season right now. Maybe God feels far. Maybe people you trusted disappeared when you needed them the most. Maybe you are holding on by a thread no one sees. Hear me, you're not being punished. You're not forgotten. You're not invisible. You're not alone. Sometimes God goes quiet because He wants you to hear yourself again. Your real voice, your truth, your longing, your heart. Sometimes He lets the noise around you fade so the healing within you can begin, and sometimes He goes silent because the answers He's preparing are bigger than the questions you are even asking. If you are in that place where God feels silent, let my story remind you. His silence is not the end of yours. You will breathe again, you will rise again, and when God speaks, it will make sense why He was quiet for so long. So just hold on a little longer. He's closer than you think, and this silence is not forever. When the noise returns, you will understand why God needed you to hear nothing at all. And here is where we draw the curtain on today's episode of Destiny Diaries. Until I come your way again, keep holding on. Never lose yourself.